November 8, 1923, 8:30 p.m. Munich, Germany. The air inside the Bürgerbräukeller beer hall is thick with smoke, sweat, and the low rumble of drunken laughter. Long wooden tables vibrate as steins slam down. A brass band plays badly in the corner. No one notices the man at the door at first. He is short, thin, a small, rigid mustache. His coat is worn, his eyes burning with a nervous intensity that feels almost out of place in the warm chaos of the hall. Then the gunshot cracks. The music dies mid-note. Conversations collapse into silence. Beer spills across the tables as heads snap toward the sound. The man stands elevated now, pistol raised, his voice sharp and trembling, but loud enough to cut through the room. The national revolution has begun. For a moment, no one knows whether to laugh or run. You can almost feel the confusion ripple outward. This is not a general, not a nobleman, not even a respected politician. He is Adolf Hitler, an Austrian-born nobody with no rank, no office, no authority beyond the force of his voice. And yet, in this moment, he believes history is bending toward him. Outside the beer hall, Munich is restless. Germany is restless. 5 years after World War I, the nation is bleeding in ways that cannot be bandaged. The Treaty of Versailles has crushed the economy, stripped territory, and humiliated a proud people. Inflation has turned money into confetti. A loaf of bread costs billions of marks. Veterans beg in the streets wearing faded uniforms that no longer mean anything. Democracy feels fragile, weak, temporary. And Hitler knows it. He has studied this despair like a map. He has listened in beer halls, watched faces harden when the war is mentioned, seen fists clench when Jews, Marxists, or politicians are blamed. He has learned something dangerous. People don't want solutions. They want someone to tell them who stole their future. Inside the hall, Hitler's voice grows steadier. He speaks of betrayal, of enemies within, of a Germany that was stabbed in the back. He promises restoration, order, greatness. The words are not new, but the delivery is electric. He doesn't argue, he accuses. He doesn't explain, he declares. This is not the beginning of his rise. It is the moment he realizes how power really works. The coup will fail. By morning, Bavarian police and army units will crush the rebellion. 16 Nazis will lie dead on the streets of Munich. Hitler will be arrested, tried for treason, and sentenced to prison. On paper, this should be the end of him. But history doesn't move on paper. It moves in minds. April 1, 1924, courtroom, Munich. Hitler stands before the judges, not as a defeated criminal, but as a performer who understands the stage. The trial is supposed to humiliate him. Instead, it becomes his first national broadcast. Newspapers carry his words across Germany. He turns the courtroom into a pulpit, the charges into proof of his patriotism. He speaks for hours. He blames the Republic. He blames the Jews. He blames communists. He blames weakness, and he never once sounds ashamed. The judges, sympathetic, conservative, nationalistic, sentence him to 5 years. He serves barely 9 months. 9 months is all he needs. Landsberg prison is not a dungeon. It is quiet, warm, structured. Hitler receives visitors. Loyal followers bring news, money, encouragement. And in a small cell, packing like a caged animal, he dictates a book that will become both manifesto and warning. Mein Kampf. It is chaotic, obsessive, filled with hatred and fantasy. But buried inside is a clear, chilling realization. Power will not be seized by force alone. It must be won legally, slowly, democratically, until democracy can be discarded. When Hitler is released in December 1924, Germany barely notices. The economy stabilizes for a time. Extremism fades from the headlines. The Nazi Party is banned, fractured, mocked. Hitler himself is forbidden from speaking publicly. He is once again a nobody. But something has changed. He rebuilds patiently. He restructures the Nazi Party not as a mob but as a machine. There are uniforms now, ranks, rituals, symbols. The swastika becomes a brand. The salute becomes muscle memory. Meetings are choreographed. Loyalty is rewarded, dissent erased. And then everything collapses again. October 1929, the New York Stock Exchange crashes. Within months, German banks fail, factories close, 6 million are unemployed, bread lines stretch through frozen streets. The Weimar Republic, already hated, looks helpless. Coalition governments rise and fall like paper walls. Fear returns, anger follows. And Hitler steps back onto the stage. This time he doesn't shout revolution. He promises order, jobs, pride. He flies across Germany, sometimes speaking to 5 cities in one day, his voice hoarse, his eyes wild, feeding on the desperation of crowds. Propaganda posters show him not as a man but as a symbol, a savior, a destiny. People do not all believe him. But enough do. By 1932, the Nazis are the largest party in the Reichstag. They have not taken power yet, but they no longer need to shout to be heard. Germany's elites believe they can control Hitler, use him, tame him. They are wrong. And as the doors of power begin to open, something darker than ambition is preparing to walk through. January 30th, 1933, 11:15, Berlin, Germany. A cold winter fog clings to the Wilhelmstrasse, dulling the sound of boots on stone. Inside the Reich Chancellery, a group of elderly men in dark coats wait with stiff smiles and guarded eyes. They believe they are making a clever compromise, a temporary arrangement, a way to stabilize a collapsing republic. Adolf Hitler stands among them, hands clasped, spine rigid. He does not smile. President Paul von Hindenburg, hero of the Great War, is old and tired. His hand shakes as he signs the document. With a single stroke of ink, Adolf Hitler is appointed Chancellor of Germany. Not dictator, not Führer. Just Chancellor. The men around Hindenburg tell themselves this will be manageable. Hitler's cabinet includes conservatives. The army still swears loyalty to the president. The Constitution remains intact. There are laws, safeguards, limits. You can almost hear democracy exhale, believing the danger has passed. Hitler understands something they do not. Power does not need to be total on day one. It only needs momentum. That night, torchlight floods the streets of Berlin. Thousands of uniformed Nazis march in perfect columns beneath the Brandenburg Gate. Flames reflect in their eyes as they chant his name. Hitler watches from a window, his face unreadable. The message is clear, not to the people but to the state. He is no longer outside the system. He is the system. Within days, the pressure begins. Newspapers critical of the Nazis are harassed. Meetings are broken up by brown-shirted SA men. Communists are beaten in the streets. Police look the other way. They have been instructed to. Then fire. February 27, 1933, 9:21 p.m. Smoke pours from the Reichstag building, the heart of German democracy. Flames lick through the chamber where laws are debated and power is meant to be shared. Sirens wail. Crowds gather. A half-blind Dutch communist, Marinus van der Lubbe, is found inside and arrested. Before the embers cool, Hitler arrives. This is the beginning of a communist uprising, he declares. His voice is calm, certain, almost relieved. By dawn, fear has been weaponized. President Hindenburg signs the Reichstag fire decree at Hitler's urging. Civil liberties vanish overnight: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, privacy of mail, habeas corpus, all suspended temporarily. Police are given sweeping powers, arrests explode. They are not temporary. Communists are dragged from their homes. Social democrats follow. Political opponents disappear into improvised detention centers, gymnasiums, warehouses, abandoned factories. One of them near Munich will soon be called Dachau. It is described as a camp for re-education. Inside, the lesson is pain. March 5, 1933. Germany votes again. The election is not free, but it is legal enough to satisfy those who still cling to process. The Nazis do not win an outright majority, but with allies, intimidation, and arrests, it doesn't matter. 2 weeks later, the Reichstag meets in the Kroll Opera House, surrounded by armed SA and SS men. The atmosphere is suffocating. Deputies can feel eyes on their backs as they take their seats. Hitler rises to speak. He proposes the Enabling Act, a law that would allow his cabinet to pass legislation without parliamentary approval, without presidential consent, without constitutional limits, for 4 years. Legally, democracy would vote itself out of existence. Outside, storm troopers line the streets. Inside, only one party dares to oppose him, the Social Democrats. Their leader, Otto Wels, speaks of freedom and conscience. His voice shakes, but he does not yield. Hitler responds with contempt. "You are no longer needed," he snaps. The vote passes. The room applauds. With that applause, the Weimar Republic dies, not with a coup, not with a battle, but with procedure, stamps, signatures, silence. From this moment on, resistance becomes treason. The transformation is rapid and ruthless. Trade unions are dissolved, political parties banned, regional governments crushed, judges swear loyalty to Hitler, civil servants are purged, Jewish professionals are dismissed from their posts under the law for the restoration of the professional civil service. It is all done legally, methodically, with paperwork. Propaganda fills the void where debate once lived. Joseph Goebbels, now Minister of Propaganda, understands the power of repetition. Radios are subsidized so every home can hear Hitler's voice. Newspapers print identical headlines. Films glorify sacrifice and obedience. Lies are not hidden, they are shouted until they feel true. And still, Hitler is not finished consolidating power. The SA, once his street army, has grown too large, too violent, too independent. Their leader, Ernst Röhm, speaks openly of a second revolution that would threaten the army and conservative elites Hitler needs. In private meetings, generals make their position clear. Röhm must go. June 30, 1934. In a series of coordinated arrests and executions later known as the Night of the Long Knives, Hitler unleashes the SS. Röhm is arrested and shot. So are dozens of SA leaders, political rivals, old enemies, even personal critics. The killings are presented as self-defense. The public accepts it. The army swears loyalty to Hitler personally. Weeks later, President Hindenburg dies. There is no new election. The offices of President and Chancellor are merged. Soldiers now swear an oath, not to Germany, not to the Constitution, but to Adolf Hitler. Führer. The crowd roars, church bells ring, flags wave. But beneath the celebration, something irreversible has taken root. The machinery of fear is complete. The state no longer protects the people. It owns them. And with power secured at home, Hitler turns his gaze outward, toward enemies he has named for years, and a war he believes destiny demands. Spring 1935, Nuremberg, Germany. The city is unrecognizable beneath a sea of red banners. Swastikas hang from medieval stone towers like something ancient has returned to claim its throne. Loudspeakers crackle, drums pound. Columns of uniformed men march with mechanical precision, boots striking the ground in perfect unison. From a towering podium, Adolf Hitler looks out over the mass of faces. It is no longer a crowd. It is a single body. You can almost feel the electricity in the air, the heat, the anticipation, the surrender. People have traveled for days to be here. Farmers, clerks, teachers, mothers holding children on their shoulders so they can see the Führer. What they are witnessing feels historic, sacred. This is not politics anymore. This is belief. The Nuremberg rallies are the purest expression of Nazi power, not through laws or police, but through emotion. Architect Albert Speer designs the space to dwarf the individual. Goebbels scripts every chant, every pause, every camera angle. At night, columns of searchlights form a glowing cathedral in the sky, the so-called Cathedral of Light. Germany does not just hear Hitler. It feels him. And while the spectacle dazzles the masses, the regime quietly rewires the nation beneath the surface. This process has a name: Gleichschaltung, coordination, alignment, total control. Every institution must conform. Schools are transformed first, textbooks are rewritten, biology becomes racial theory, history becomes destiny. Jewish students are isolated, humiliated, expelled. Teachers who refuse to comply are dismissed, or worse. Children join the Hitler Youth, where loyalty is taught before math, obedience before empathy. Parents begin to notice something unsettling. Their children are no longer theirs. They come home singing songs about blood and soil. They repeat slogans with unnerving seriousness. Some are encouraged to report parents who criticize the regime. The state has found a way inside the family. The churches are next. Pastors are pressured to preach obedience. Crosses are replaced with swastikas. Some resist quietly, carefully, but many comply, believing they can coexist with power. They cannot. Then come the laws. September 15, 1935. Under the banners of the Nuremberg Rally, the regime announces the Nuremberg Laws. With clinical language, German Jews are stripped of citizenship. Marriage and sexual relations between Jews and Aryans are outlawed. Identity is now biological, inescapable. There is no violence yet, not openly. That is what makes it so effective. Jewish doctors lose patients, lawyers lose clients, shopkeepers see signs appear in their windows: Jews not wanted. Friends stop visiting, neighbors look away. Fear spreads quietly, like a stain no one wants to acknowledge. Many Germans tell themselves this is temporary, excessive, someone else's problem. After all, things are improving. Unemployment drops as massive public works projects begin. The Autobahn stretches across the countryside. Factories hum again. Rearmament, illegal under Versailles, is disguised as job creation. Men feel useful, proud. Germany feels alive. Hitler announces what many have secretly longed to hear: Germany will no longer be bound by the humiliation of the past. March 7, 1936. German troops march into the Rhineland, a demilitarized zone forbidden by treaty. It is a gamble. French forces could crush them easily. The generals are nervous. Hitler is not. The troops have orders to retreat if confronted. They are not. No one stops them. When the soldiers return home to cheering crowds, Hitler knows the truth. The world will not act. Fear of another war has paralyzed Europe. Every successful risk feeds his confidence and his myth. He is no longer just Germany's leader. He is fate. But power always demands escalation, and hatred, once normalized, requires release. November 9, 1938, Berlin. It begins with shattered glass. Jewish shops are smashed. Synagogues burn under the night sky. Fire brigades arrive, not to save the buildings but to protect neighboring Aryan property. Police arrest tens of thousands of Jewish men, not the attackers but the victims. The regime calls it Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. It is spontaneous, they claim, public outrage. It is neither. It is coordinated, encouraged, approved. The message is unmistakable: Jews have no future in Germany. Those who can flee try desperately to leave, but borders are closing, visas denied, the world turning inward. And still, many Germans watch in silence. By now, silence has become a habit. Behind the scenes, the machinery of destruction is taking shape. The SS under Heinrich Himmler expands its reach. Camps like Dachau are no longer temporary. They are refined, systematized, a model for something far worse. Hitler speaks increasingly of destiny, of struggle, of space. Lebensraum, living space. The idea is simple and lethal. Germany must expand eastward. Slavs are inferior. Bolshevism is a Jewish conspiracy. War is not tragedy, it is necessity. The nation listens. The nation prepares. And somewhere beyond Germany's borders, the world still hopes this storm can be contained. It cannot, because the final transformation is approaching, the moment when belief turns into annihilation and ideology demands blood. September 1st, 1939, 4:45 a.m. near the Polish border. The sky is still dark when the first shells land. The ground shudders. Villages wake to fire instead of dawn. German Stuka dive bombers scream as they fall from the clouds, their sirens designed not just to destroy, but to terrify. This is not a border clash. This is annihilation by design. Hitler watches from a distance, calm, composed. For years he has spoken of this moment, of destiny fulfilled through force. Poland, he claims, has provoked Germany. The lie is delivered confidently, repeated endlessly, accepted quickly. Within days, Poland collapses under the weight of blitzkrieg, lightning war. Tanks punch through defenses. Infantry follows. The world finally responds. Britain and France declare war. But it is already too late. Inside Germany, the war is greeted with relief, even joy. Unemployment disappears overnight. Factories run day and night. Uniforms give men purpose. Rationing feels patriotic. Sacrifice feels meaningful. Propaganda frames conquest as self-defense. Victims are labeled threats. Enemies are dehumanized until killing feels necessary, righteous, even. Behind the front lines, something darker unfolds. Special SS units known as Einsatzgruppen follow the army east. Their mission is not combat, it is extermination. Jewish men are rounded up first, then women, then children. They are marched to forests, ravines, pits already dug. Shots echo, bodies fall. This is genocide without camps, without gas, without distance. Men drink to numb themselves, others grow efficient, reports are filed, numbers recorded, humanity reduced to logistics. Yet even this is not enough. By 1941, Hitler's war has expanded beyond anything Europe has seen. He turns on his former ally, invading the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa, a campaign driven not just by strategy but ideology. This is a war of racial annihilation. Slavs are subhuman. Jews are enemies of existence itself. The scale becomes impossible to ignore. Millions of prisoners of war are starved to death. Entire villages are erased. And still, the killings are considered too slow, too visible, too personal. The regime looks for a more efficient solution. January 20th, 1942. A quiet villa in Wannsee near Berlin. 15 men sit around a polished table. No shouting, no passion, just paperwork, coffee, cigarettes. They discuss schedules, rail capacity definitions. This is the Wannsee Conference, where the final solution to the Jewish question is coordinated, not invented but organized, industrialized. Death camps are expanded. Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, Sobibor. Trains arrive daily. Families are separated in seconds. Some are sent to forced labor. Most are sent directly to gas chambers disguised as showers. The system is precise, efficient, inhuman. 6 million Jews will be murdered. Along with Roma, disabled individuals, political prisoners, homosexuals, and countless others deemed unworthy of life. And still, many Germans claim ignorance. They see the smoke. They hear the rumors. They choose not to know. As the war drags on, the myth of Hitler's invincibility begins to crack. Stalingrad, North Africa, Allied bombing raids that turn German cities into firestorms. Civilians now feel the terror once reserved for others. Faith wavers, fear replaces it. Inside the regime, loyalty fractures. Some officers see the truth too late. They whisper of disaster, of madness, of a man dragging the nation into ruin. July 20th, 1944. A bomb explodes inside Hitler's headquarters at Wolf's Lair. The table leg saves him. The conspirators are arrested, tortured, executed slowly, filmed for Hitler's viewing. Mercy is gone. By 1945, Germany is collapsing from all sides. Refugees flood westward. Cities are rubble. Children man anti-aircraft guns. Old men dig trenches. Hitler retreats underground, both physically and mentally, clinging to maps of armies that no longer exist. Yet even now, he refuses surrender. If Germany cannot win, he believes, it deserves to burn. And as the Red Army closes in on Berlin, the question is no longer how this began, but how it will end. April 30th, 1945, 3:30 p.m. Berlin. Deep beneath the shattered streets, the air in the Führerbunker is stale and sour with sweat, fuel, and despair. The walls tremble as Soviet artillery pounds the city above. Maps hang uselessly on concrete walls, their colored pins marking divisions that exist only in memory. Adolf Hitler sits hunched at a narrow table. His hands shake uncontrollably. His once commanding voice has thinned to a rasp. The man who promised a 1,000-year Reich now presides over a few underground rooms and a shrinking circle of followers who no longer believe, but are too afraid to leave. You can almost hear the war ending overhead. Berlin is dying. Outside, children and old men are thrown into the streets with rifles. The Red Army advances block by block, discovering the camps, the graves, the evidence of what Germany became under Nazism. There will be no negotiated peace, no last-minute miracle. Hitler understands this, even if he refuses to say it aloud. That morning he dictates his final political testament. There is no apology, no regret. He blames the Jews, again, always. Responsibility is shifted, reality denied to the very end. Loyalty, he insists, was never sufficient. Betrayal is everywhere. Then he says goodbye. Eva Braun, whom he married the night before in a hollow gesture of normalcy, sits beside him. Cyanide capsules wait on the table. A pistol rests within reach. At approximately 3:30 p.m., the door closes. A single gunshot echoes through the bunker. When it opens again, Adolf Hitler is dead. Eva Braun lies beside him. Their bodies are carried into the garden of the Reich Chancellery, doused in petrol and burned hastily under falling shells. The man who built his power on spectacle vanishes in smoke and ash. Above ground, the war continues for days, but the myth is gone. Germany surrenders unconditionally on May 7th, 1945. The world begins to see what had been hidden or ignored. Camps are liberated. Survivors stumble into sunlight, skeletal, silent. Mass graves are uncovered. Photographs circulate. Film reels roll. The scale of the crime is undeniable. And yet the most unsettling truth is not how monstrous Hitler was. It is how ordinary the path was. Nazism did not seize Germany overnight. It crept in through fear, through humiliation, through economic despair. It wrapped itself in law, tradition, and patriotism. It asked people not to become monsters, only to look away, to stay silent, to obey. Most did. The Third Reich was not sustained by madness alone, but by millions of small choices. To believe a lie because it was comforting, to accept cruelty because it was gradual, to follow because standing still felt dangerous. This is the darkest truth of all. Hitler did not rise because he was uniquely evil. He rose because a broken society let hatred feel like hope. The ruins of Berlin are rebuilt. Germany confronts its past. Trials are held. Leaders are hanged. But the warning remains, etched into history with blood. Extremism does not announce itself as evil. It arrives promising order. And when fear is louder than conscience, it finds willing hands.